Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here with Charlie Robertson, who's president and CEO of American Cruise Lines. And if you haven't heard about American Cruise Lines, well, you haven't been reading us. Every other week, they're announcing something. And indeed, as we speak today, they announced more, they're going to be building more ships. It's just incredible, and they really are a great cruise line on Americans' waters. I mean, they are it right now. So we're going to talk to Charlie about all that's happening with American Cruise Lines today and a whole lot more on Insider Travel Report. Charlie, great to see you. It's been a while.
Hi, James. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, we keep meaning to do this. It's my fault. I've been traveling too much, and I keep meaning to do this in person because I really have to go to one of your christenings one of these days, and it seems like there's one every other week, so I should be able to find that at some point. But in fact,
Well,
let's talk about the big news today. You just announced you would be building even more ships, right?
we did. Just this week, we signed four more contracts, so we now have 10 ships under construction. And so we'll have plenty of christenings to invite you to. We're
There
going
you
to keep
go.
inviting
We're gonna make
you
that
if you
we're
don't
gonna make
go.
this happen one of these days, and you're gonna give me a tour of the new vessels. But right now, in terms of currently sailing, how many ships do you have?
19.
19, and then with all these others, it's going to be another 10 more. Is that what it is?
10 more for now. That's what gets delivered over the next 3 years, but we don't want to stop there.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you are now where do you cruise today? All the rivers and lakes and coastal waterways, pretty much. I mean, you're every river I can think of in the U.S., right?
We're trying to find more, but we're on all the ones most people can think of anyway.
Well, maybe
And
we better build a canal or a river somewhere so you can have another place to go, right?
Well, in the meantime, we'll keep adding ships to the rivers we have because we do really believe in the demand for it. And we're on pretty much all the rivers you can name across the country, though, and it is amazing how much of our country is accessible by water. And so
Yeah,
we
in fact,
visit 35 states.
I know, and I actually I have an apartment overlooking the Hudson, and I'm looking right at the Hudson right now, and I know you go on the Hudson.
Yeah, we had 5 boats on the Hudson River this year, and are going to have longer seasons there next year. We've been running our first summer cruises on the Hudson. It's terrific.
So it's well beyond the just traditional Mississippi and its tributaries, and then of course in the Pacific Northwest, the Columbia and the Snake. I was up there once, and I saw one of your ships, beautiful. And then you're doing a little bit of Alaska and all the way up there, and then you do things like Florida and the coastal waterways, right?
We do. Yeah, the Eastern Seaboard is a real growth area for us, and that's like the ship behind you, and the most recent new builds are our first real concentration of growth on the East Coast in over 10 years. And so we'll have 10 ships on the East Coast by the end of next year.
Well, let's look at what's to come. I know you now have sort of several classes of ships in your fleet. Can you talk about those different classes, like modern, Patriot, and how they differ?
We do, and they're really defined by the regions that they operate in.
Hmm.
And so our smallest boats, the Coastal Cats, for instance, are the only ships in the world that can actually operate in the Southeast US without going out into the ocean. We run the
Really?
entire intracoastal waterway with them, and that design parameter really dictated the design. The slightly bigger classes are either designed for New England waters, for Alaska, and then of course we have the riverboats, which have their own unique designs for the Mississippi or the Columbia River.
So
And
you really tailored the design of the ships to where you're sailing.
the region it's sailing is the primary design motivator, and then it's secondary to that is the market it's trying to cater to, and that's where we have the modern river products, and we also have the paddle wheelers. But
Yeah.
those are more cosmetic differences than structural ones.
No, and so what you've been building lately are these Patriot ships, the Project Blue class of ships. But you're still going to build the modern class as well, modern riverboats as well, right?
We do, and as part of this new build order that we've just announced is actually 3 more modern river ships.
Okay, so those are all for the river sailors. And tell me a little bit about the Patriot, the Project Blue ships. It's just fascinating. What's the difference there?
It's just a tiny bit bigger than the one that's behind you. It's a traditional hull shape too, not the catamaran bow. And it's a little bit deeper than the coastal cats, so it's more ocean capable, coastal capable.
Mhm.
It's fully stabilized, and it carries just 130 guests. So it's still very small and can get into those small New England harbors that most cruise ships can't get into.
But none of your ships are very big. But so what do they range from the lowest number of passengers to highest?
The smallest ships we have are 90 passengers, and there's only two of those. And then we go to the coastal cats, which are 105 passengers. The biggest ones we have are the river boats, which are 180 passengers. And everything we do is committed to stay under 200 guests.
Wow, that's and well, you do have to be that on the rivers. Now, in terms of accommodations, dining, public spaces, I know each new class of ships has been upgrading that whole area. So now, tell us a little bit about what you've been trying to upgrade in these newest vessels.
That's where we're so excited to be building, is we're building to the modern market and to meet what guests are expecting now, what how we see trends changing in travel. We have the largest staterooms on any riverboats in the world. Every room on the ships has private balconies. We have sweeping lounge spaces and just lots of glass area for views. We really want the destination to be the hero, whether it's as we're traveling, we're always in sight of land, so we want to just showcase our country's landscape, and then we spend a lot of time in port, and so that's why we dock in the heart of each town and design the boats to really just show off our nation.
Absolutely. I love the names of all the ships you choose: American Encore, American Maverick, American Ranger, American Patriot, American Pioneer. You don't seem to be running out of names, right?
No, there's always a lot of debate about what the next name is going to be, but the new ones have been really popular. Yeah, I'm really excited about American Maverick in particular.
I'll have to take a look at that one. Now, you are building all these new ships, but obviously you see a lot more demand in the market to justify that, right?
We do. We think there's a whole lot of demand left as people are just kind of discovering what U.S. river cruising is and how U.S. cruising is now becoming globally competitive. I mean, you can have a comparable product here with the best river products in the world anywhere. And I think that is helping us really expand the market. We also
Uh,
were shipbuilders, so we want to just keep leaning into
well,
it
I
and
know you got to give some business to the yard, right? And
yeah,
you
yeah.
you seem to be doing that.
We have and the other side of our of the business is the shipyard and so we've about doubled the production capacity of the yard to be able to building these boats every 4 months.
Now, a few months back this year, obviously we saw the demise of American Queen Voyages and their parent company, and out of that, you ended up buying the four American Queen Voyages ships. And although I think two you're not going to use, but you still have American Queen and American Empress, and a lot of people a lot of travel advisors are wondering what are they going to do with those?
We're gonna wait and see.
Yeah,
And we're trying to, everything we've talked about so far has been about how excited we are about the future, where we
yeah,
see the trends in travel going, how river cruising is becoming a more modern experience, our commitment to keep boats under 200 guests. And so, we're going to wait and see what happens with those boats. But at the moment, I don't see a strong demand for that type of product
I see.
based on where the modern traveler is headed.
Yeah, well, your really focus has been on building new ships, brand new for the market, and obviously, is some of those ships, American Queen's like 400 or something like that, and I don't, American Empress is also probably a little over, roughly the same. But really, I mean, maybe you don't have to. You're just gonna keep on working on your new ships and also develop them for the specific waterways that you're sailing, right?
Yeah, and that's we're shipbuilders, so that's what gets us excited, and then the other side of it is all the technology, whether it's safety technology or environmental technology. I mean, the new ships
Yeah.
have a really impressive track record in both areas, and And so they make it a much safer, much cleaner operation that the old ships just can't match. And we want to be responsible operators.
Well, absolutely. And your newest ship, I'm sure, are state of the art in terms of environmental and sustainability and everything else, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's all Tier 4 compliant engines and generators, really advanced wastewater treatment systems. So it's going over the side is essentially potable water. Um, uh, and then just, the way we actually handle everything on board from electrical generation and distribution to navigation equipment is better when it's meeting the most modern standards using the technology we have. We can
Absolutely.
spin a cruise ship in 58 seconds now, and
Really?
that makes it, yeah. And we'll send you some photos maybe
Yeah,
for the
that's
show.
cool to do that kind of maneuverability.
But
That's incredible. Now, also,
it,
you've been introducing new itineraries on rivers and coastal waterways. Can you talk a little bit about what's new in some of those areas, like the Mississippi, northeastern New England, southeast Florida, Pacific Northwest, Puget Sound, Alaska? You just got so many different places you go. But you're kind of introducing new ways to explore the rivers, right?
we are, and that the technology is part of that maneuverability, those hull forms allow us to go further, operate more consistently, and operate safer. It also makes the boats just a blast to drive.
Oh,
But
do you ever get to drive them?
I do.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, cool.
I loved being on the water, and I keep my license current, so I'm on board a lot.
Okay, so we have to go on a ship that you're captaining one night. That would be fun. Now, so there's all these different ways to explore, and also you have cruises on the Great Lakes in Canada because you have your other brand, Pearl Mist, and you've just recently renovated that ship. Although I feel like it was just out a few years ago. So talk a little bit about those Great Lakes in Canada cruises.
Yeah, we do. That's so the third company. We have American Cruise Lines, the shipyard, and then Pearl Seas operates on the Great Lakes in Canada. And that boat's doing great. The Great Lakes is a really strong cruise market right now. It's got a good demand for it, and we see a lot of new capacity coming into the market up there in Canada. But the Pearl Mist is one of the smaller boats that's up there, so it allows us to do what we do with American Cruise Lines in the Great Lakes and in an international market.
Now, what remains your most popular cruises, or what are your most popular cruises today, and on what rivers or waterways?
The Mississippi River is still, the first thing everyone thinks of
Yeah.
when they think about cruising in the U.S. And the historic component of that is still kind of the great first introduction to river cruising in the U.S. And so that's where our first time cruisers often go, and then we get them, spread out around the country after that. The Columbia and Snake River, though, is probably the fastest growing and is my personal favorite. That's on the trail of Lewis and Clark as
Oh,
I'm a
it's
history
wonderful. I've
buff.
done it once before, and there's a lot going for it on that one. I've done the Mississippi too, but you know that's something that people don't think about.
Yeah. People are shocked to realize that we actually cruised into Idaho and that you can get
That's
on
true.
a ship to Idaho is unbelievable.
Yeah, well, if Lewis and Clark were around today, you'd be able to make their lives a lot easier. I think they could go right to the Pacific very quickly. But that was it. It is a great place to explore that, and it's a wonderful small towns in that area. It's just a really fun place to do. Now, who is your competition today? I mean, there's not too much at this point. You have the Viking ship on the Mississippi, which I still haven't seen. You have the upcoming, well, Victory Cruise Line on the Great Lakes, which is not even operating yet next year, and maybe a bit of, Panon, the Great Lakes, and a few other small ones on the U.S. waterways. But there's really not too much out there, right?
Well, for us, the competition isn't really, who we see from the pilot house or from the ship.
Right.
The competition is very global. I mean, we're competing
Got it.
for that same type of sophisticated American traveler who's been all over the world, has had some of the finest experiences out there, and who now is trying to explore their own backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's America has great waterways. I mean, look, I've done a lot. I like everybody else. I've done a lot of European river cruising. I've done the Nile once. I've done the rivers of Africa, and I've done the Irrawaddy years ago. But and I have done the Mississippi a lot, and most recently the Pacific Northwest. But yeah, to explore America's rivers it's a good place to start if you don't want to go take a long plane ride to Europe.
Yeah, you could ride your bike down and get on our boat on the Hudson if you want. And it's
I know. I was thinking about that. I mean, I don't know if you. I'm closest to Yonkers, so I just go down the pier, and there you could pick me up.
Yeah, we anytime.
Uh,
It would be great, and that's so meaningful for a lot of our guests. I mean, to see the areas they live in sometimes as a tourist is really a lot of fun. I mean, most people have never seen the Hudson from the water, and it's
oh,
absolutely gorgeous.
it is incredible, and it's of course this time of year with all the fall foliage and everything else, and to take that ship. I mean, the only time I think I've done that, except I see your ships just out my window. But you can go take the Circle Line and go up to a certain point, but it's not the same, and you go all the way up there into the very, really high up in the Hudson. Now, what does you're building ships? What does the future hold? That was going to be my question, but you've already, you announced more ships today just as I started this interview. So, what does the future hold for American Cruise Lines? Where will you expand, and how many more ships will you build?
We're gonna keep building. I mean, we think the demand is there for it, and we want to build the capacity out beyond the demand so that we can start phasing the old ships out, and we want to be ready for whatever's coming. We are
Well,
so excited about cruising in the U.S. that we just think it's gonna keep
well,
going.
you are the only, U.S. company, U.S. built, everything else that I know now. I mean, amazing, and your product is amazing too. So I want to wish you good luck with that. We got to do this on board one of your ships and see the next one that comes out because apparently it's almost every other week. So we shouldn't have a problem finding something, right?
Well, you're welcome anytime, and we'd love to have you on board because it's been way too long since you've seen the boats. They really have changed a lot, and we'd be glad to have you on anytime.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that. We'll make that happen, and then the next interview we do, we'll be on board. Again, so you want to learn more about it's www.americancruiselines.com. Find out about all the vessels they have that American Cruise Lines has, all the different places they can explore, and really, it is American cruising. It's the only, and it's really at this point one of the only options to do it. And it's if you're clients are not don't want to necessarily go to Europe this year, there is an option. So again, Charlie, I want to thank you for taking the time. Great to see you, and we're definitely going to see you on board one of your ships very soon.
Awesome. Thanks, James.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.